Hey friends, so July has been jam-packed with all sorts of Microsoft 365 and Power Platform announcements of new features and updates and all sorts of great things coming to the platform. But one of the huge game changers is the announcement of DataFlex. So DataFlex is the new low-code data platform that you'll be able to use within Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform for things like Power Apps, bots, and Power Automate. This is going to support relational data, files, images, all sorts of things, and it's going to be a built-in database within the Power Platform and Microsoft Teams. Currently, it's going to be into two tiers, which is DataFlex and DataFlex Pro, which I'm going to go through on what the difference is and what are the big changes that you should be aware of. So DataFlex Pro is super simple to understand. It's essentially just a rebranding of the common data source. So the common data source is the Power Platform's built-in database, which requires a premium license. And so if you know the common data source, and if you use it, nothing is changing there. It is just a total rebrand and it'll now be referred to as DataFlex Pro. So the DataFlex tier is considered non-premium data source, which means it'll be included in most Microsoft 365 subscriptions. This one is the game changer because there's so much stuff in here that you'll be able to do that you haven't been able to do before, and there'll be a bunch of changes. But to really kind of go through it, we have to kind of start from the beginning. So Microsoft Teams has become basically the hub of all 365 tools, productivity, you name it, all outside apps as well. It's been really making that move to bring everyone to one central app to access everything. And this year, you've been able to get into creating these custom apps built into Teams. But now what's going to happen is you're going to be able to build Power Apps and bots directly in Microsoft Teams, which means you don't have to ever leave Microsoft Teams to develop these solutions. So for Power Apps, when you're building it into Microsoft Teams, you'll have access to a built-in Power App Studio. There'll be some slight changes to it, but these are all apps meant to be built and live within Teams. So your users, when they're accessing these apps you build, they will go into Teams to access it. And this just goes along the line of making Microsoft Teams the central hub of all things Microsoft and productivity and apps, you name it. So with that, what happens when you're using Power Apps with non-premium databases, people typically end up using SharePoint. So they use a SharePoint list or document library to use these, non-premium connectors, not having additional fees or anything like that, to build the Power Apps. But when you are using SharePoint, if I'm using a SharePoint list, you're building a SharePoint site, but you're not really using SharePoint for all its features. You're just using it to have a online cloud database. So where DataFlex comes in is you'll now, within your app, as you're starting to build your solution, you can build your database right within it. That means there's no random SharePoint sites with databases living in them. It is a cloud-based database built into Power Platform and Microsoft so that you have it all in your Power App Studio. The only additional charges you'd ever have for DataFlex is if you're adding capacity, a larger database, you go past the capacity limit, then there are ways you can have add-ons for additional data. This is going to be huge because, like I said, you don't have to manage a SharePoint site just to have a database. You'll now have essentially things you're able to do in the common data source, which is now DataFlex Pro, at a simplified version, so almost a common data source light version, which is DataFlex. This is, again, like I said, a relational database, supports images, files, things like that. And so this is going to make it so much easier to make these quick on-the-fly solutions with not just the app portion, but the databases and how they work with your bots and your Power Automate flows. And so now you're going to have this all-in solution. You don't have to shuffle between different websites and apps and services in order to create, manage, and use your solutions. It is in private preview right now and is planned to be in general availability sometime in August. So with anything, things can change from now until it's in general availability. So we'll keep you posted on more information as we get closer to the general availability release date. So start planning, get ready, because a lot of great things are coming your way for Power Apps and the Power Platform and Microsoft Teams. Talk to you all later. Bye.